We have a sold out show and I'm about to surprise the fans. I hope they recognize me.
Hi, I'm Bree. I'm that one in the center. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to welcome you all. You look so beautiful and cozy.
What has all of this coalescing been like for you?
It's been a lot. Hi. So are you excited to see it or like no?
Note to Marvel. The women have something to tell you.
Now, I'm sure you've heard the term MCU. And yes, the term is extremely offensive, but it's also becoming undeniably true.
I cannot even fathom the full circle-ness of all of this.
I try not to.
Oh my God. I'm never gonna financially recover from this.
Nerdrotic.com.
There is no MCU, but maybe there should be. This is an article from The Nerdist back on August 31st, 2022, which hasn't aged very well, but it serves a powerful purpose. The Marvel's failure is a massive win in the culture war for you and me, and we will get to that. But first, I'd like to welcome the almost 900,000 awakening wonders out there, lovers of all things good, dislikers of all things bad, and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. Because as sure as the sun is gonna rise in the east and set in the west, as sure as the Rings of Power Season 2 is gonna be a massive failure, as sure as Disney's gonna put a ticket in and make a living gang, we knew the Marvels was going to be a complete disaster, and the only question was how much, and it turns out it exceeds our lowest expectations. The Marvels isn't just a box office bomb, it is an undeniable, catastrophic failure, and again, a win. The good news is the Marvels did bring people together, just not in the way Disney Marvel intended. Before we even get started, I want you all to make sure to stretch because I don't want you pulling a hammy on your well-earned victory laps. Now, it looks like the only people surprised by this massive, epic, catastrophic failure is the Access Media, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Disney Marvel, and as the Access Media calls Nia DaCosta, Black female director Nia DaCosta, set out to make a fun, funny film that's full of heart, and I want you to remember that for later. What we ended up getting was a boring, miserable film that lacked any soul. And the cope from the Access Media has been nothing short of glorious, ranging from the Marvel Cinematic Universe's audience has aged out overnight to lack of promotion due to the Film Actors Guild strike, which, in my opinion, has helped the film. Instead of having a $46 million opening weekend, if Brie Larson was out there, it probably would have had a $30 million opening weekend.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Yup! We've heard excuses like superhero fatigue, and quite frankly, I think it's just MCU fatigue. And then there's the old Access Media favorite, it's the fans' fault for being racist, misogynist, sexist bigots. And then there's the other favorite from the Access Media, it's YouTubers for precisely the same reasons. From the Washington Examiner, the Marvels bombs at weekend box office after anti-woke backlash. From Garbage Tier Inside the Magic, the Marvels director tackles anti-woke MCU fans. And from Forbes, which is now behind a paywall, the Marvel faces anti-woke backlash after box office flop. From CBR, the Marvel's director reacts to MCU film's woke criticism. From The Direct, the Marvel's director responds to woke backlash to movie. And one of my personal favorites, the Marvel's box office North America wins a special box office record. It costs $2.5 million a minute, $43,000 a second, gets slammed by anti-woke backlash, and much more. And a lot of this might sound familiar, because it is. It sounds exactly like the articles that were written back in 2019 when Captain Marvel was released, but times have changed. What worked then isn't working now. Our good friend Scotty Mendelson, formerly of Forbes, famous Marvel shill, and big fan of cuties, agrees.
I think what we're seeing is that the comic book superhero film, even from Marvel and DC, are far more execution dependent than they used to be. They're not getting arguably the free pass that they got from 2016 to 2019.
Now, I'm not so sure DC was getting a free pass, but I appreciate your honesty, Scotty, by admitting that Disney Marvel was getting a free pass. And again, it looks like that free pass has expired, and it's been great. And I could read these headlines all day, and as a matter of fact, I have been, from the famous alt-right outlet, The Hollywood Reporter. Box office bomb. The Marvels opening to 47 to 52 million. We now know it was 46 million in new low for Marvel Studios. From Variety, box office, The Marvel misfires with, we now know, 46 million, lowest MCU opening weekend of all time. After The Marvels bombs at the box office, what's next for the MCU? Well, I guess the question would be what's next for the MCU, and we'll get to that. The Marvels meltdown, Disney's MCU seeing lowest box office opening ever at, we now know, 46 million. What went wrong? Aside from the fact that they spent well over $250 million on this film and then released it, it turns out that the film made by diverse women, starring diverse women, for women, wasn't watched by any women. I mean, could things possibly get any worse for the Marvels, Kevin Feige, and the MCU?
Ancient astronaut theorists say yes.
From Screen Rant, The Marvels collapses at the box office with record-breaking second weekend drop that's worse than Morbius. The new Marvel Cinematic Universe outing, The Marvels, has the worst second week drop of any comic book movie. You heard that right. The Marvels had the worst second week drop of any comic book movie ever. Per Variety, the Marvel's box office has taken a huge hit in its second weekend after earning the lowest opening weekend of the entire MCU. It has now grossed an additional and meager 10.2 million at the domestic box office, a staggering drop of 79%. That includes an 87% drop from Friday to Friday. Currently, the Marvels is sitting at $65 million here in the States. It's earned $96 million internationally for a grand total of $161 million. It is in danger of not making $100 million here in the States and possibly not making $250 million in total. Domestically, it did $2.8 million on Friday, $4.4 million on Saturday, and $3 million on Sunday. And if you look at that per theater total, on Friday, it was $695 per theater, $1,092 on Saturday, and $744 per theater on Sunday. It's terrible. And believe it or not, things just got worse. In its second week, the Marvels finished in 4th place. But not to worry, because at least for the time being, the MCU isn't going anywhere. It's just been massively delayed. Sure, Echo is just around the corner, but I don't think that's going to make much noise. And in some time in 2025 or 2026, we're gonna get the Agatha Harkness series in Ironheart. On the movie front, the Captain America sequel without Captain America has been delayed because it's being completely reshot and replaced with the savior of Marvel, a Deadpool sequel featuring the Fox X-Men, a film that has yet to complete principal photography thanks to the Film Actors Guild strike and is due out in July, but I'm rooting for it. And not to pile on the Marvels too much, oh, who the hell am I kidding? Of course I want to pile on the Marvels. There was something else I noticed. From the Variety article about the Marvels director, how the Marvels got its blurred girl energy. By the way, blurred means black nerd. I think a better headline would be how the Marvels got its fake geek girl energy. Nia DaCosta ignored the haters and made the movie her teenage self would want to see. Well, unfortunately, no one else did. DaCosta's pitch for the Marvels was punctuated by a few big ideas, and earlier on, I asked you to remember this. First, she wanted to make a movie that was fun, funny, and full of heart. And that's interesting. You may remember previous keywords being associated with past Marvel films that were used over and over again, including absolute triumph or just triumph with Shang-Chi and with the Eternals.
Different.
Everybody looks different.
Different way.
It being a very different Marvel movie. Well, we have something similar here. Over at the Rotten Tomatoes verified audience scores, which are currently sitting at 83%. This movie was just fun. We binge watched Miss Marvel before we watched this one, and I think it made it even more fun, exciting, and funny. Fun and enjoyable. Good action scenes and overall a ton of fun. Fast-paced and so much fun. I loved it. It was funny. It's a fun movie. Great movie. Fun. Action-filled. It's great to see the girls going higher, further, faster. This movie was so much fun. It's sad to see how negative people are, and they just don't know how to enjoy fun movies anymore. Don't believe the haters. The Marvel was a fun movie with touching character moments. Fun for the whole family. A very fun movie. Great fun. Funny movie. It was a fun movie. Fun movie. Great fight scenes. Short and fun. Fun and entertaining. And that was just a sample. It goes on and on. Now that is what I call review bombing, but I'm sure it's a total coincidence. This never was really a matter of rooting for the Marvels to fail because we didn't need to. We knew it would, and it was just a matter of sitting back and waiting for it to happen. Because this isn't our first rodeo, and there's a lot of reasons this happened, including one pointed out by my good friend Chris Gore. Turning Marvel and Star Wars into girl brands will prove to be one of the costliest decisions in entertainment history, without a doubt. Unfortunately, in both Disney Marvel and Disney Star Wars case, they turned boy brands that girls liked into girl brands that nobody likes. While all the focus is deservedly on the Marvels, it's always been bigger than just another bad MCU film. This pop culture cancer started almost a decade ago in gaming and comics. Then there was Ghostbusters 2016 and metastasized into Star Wars, Star Trek, and Doctor Who. And the corporations and the corporate media hid behind these divided fandoms and pit one against the other while vilifying a large portion of it. Vilifying the very people you rely on, the fan, the paying customer, poisoning and dividing fandoms that had gotten along in some cases for decades prior to that. Then it led to a full-blown fan revolt with the Rings of Power when the Tolkien fandom soundly defeated a $1 trillion company in Amazon. And here we are a year later, and just in the last couple of months, we've seen Ahsoka fail on the Disney Star Wars side. South Park came out and embarrassed Disney. Disney continued to embarrass itself. The mighty Marvel Cinematic Universe has fallen, and The Marvels is one of the biggest comic book film flops of all time. So yes, the fandom is now collectively celebrating the failure of the Marvels, but it's well beyond that. It's the failure of woke Hollywood, it's the failure of Disney, it's the failure of the MCU, it's the failure of intersectional feminism, it's the failure of identity politics, and it's a failure the corporate access media and corporate Hollywood have earned.
Now, I'm sure you've heard the term MCU. It's being used by some fan communities. And yes, the term is extremely offensive, but it's also becoming undeniably true.
In the words of Gina Carano, the jig is up, and it took us a while to get here, but I'm glad it happened. Yes, The Marvels is a massive box office bomb, and that is a culture war win because pop culture is culture. And while it's highly unlikely, maybe some will learn a valuable lesson, and this goes for everyone in the entertainment industry, from comic books to gaming to television to film. You reach the most people by making good stories, not taking them.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.